Hey everyone, and welcome to the results video for our third ride recreation contest. Now, just to clarify some rules, all the players had to rebuild a ride that has existed in the past or a ride that currently exists, or one that's currently being built. And yeah, they didn't have to recreate the ride in its original surroundings, so they could also rebuild the ride on the moon or outer space or at the top of an active volcano if they wanted. Anyway, we got 19 entries for this contest. In this video I will show all of them. I'll start with the one that got the lowest score and I'll finish by announcing who's the winner of this round. Alright, in 19th place we have this entry from Border Kolika. I believe Border Kolika is a new player on my Discord. And Border Kolika created this corkscrew coaster. I believe it's a corkscrew coaster from a park in Brazil. Pretty standard layout with a double corkscrew. And yeah, just some twists and other stuff in between. Now, yeah, I quite like the way this layout was done. I'm not really sure about the flooring that was used under the coaster. I don't really know what was the idea behind it. Now, there's also some supporting rides in the park. There's a go-kart ride over here. Also a merry-go-round here with a little shoestring, it looks like. And several other small rides in the park as well. Now, for a first time entry, I think it isn't that bad, and I'm sure there will be lots of helpful tips in the reviews. Alright, and then in 18th place we have the entry from Fishnet Tights Patrick. You guys have wonderful usernames. And yeah, here we have this volcanic landscape with 3 coasters on it. And I believe these are all defunct coasters. So here we have a rendition of Super Volcano, the Blast Coaster, which is obviously inspired by Volcano, the Blast Coaster. Here we have Shockwave with a nice color scheme. And here we have Hypersonic XLC. And the ride that the players had to rate was this ride, Volcano, the Blast Coaster. Now, I think the landscaping here is really nicely done. And I love how the coaster jumps out of the volcano here at the top. I think that looks great, and I also love the support work for this coaster. Love these pillars that were made with this single rail coaster track. They look fantastic. What I think looks a little bit less fantastic is, well yeah, just look at this coaster here. It kind of clips through the track, and that pretty much happens everywhere. So probably, maybe it would have been a good choice to yeah, use a second track just for display and put it a bit higher. So it actually looks like the coaster is traveling below the track here. That's this kind of jarring, I think. But yeah, I do think the coaster itself just looks really cool with these supports. Okay, then we have the entry from LOL69. And LOL69 recreated Skyrider. I believe it's a coaster from Canada's Wonderland. It's a stand-up coaster. I think yeah, LOL69 recreated the original layout pretty well, even with this little randomly banked track here. Yeah, the real layout also has that. It's pretty weird, but it's nice that it's also here in the recreate layout. I believe the real coaster also has quite a long straight section of track here where the chain lift continues, and sadly we don't see that here on this rendition of the layout. Yeah, overall it's a pretty simple layout and one that translates pretty well into RCT2. So I can see why LOL69 chose to recreate this one. And I think the other rides in the park also look pretty nice. Alright, next up is the entry from Shen Kitchen, and Shen Kitchen recreated this coaster called Steel Curtain. It's a big coaster in Kennywood, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I think Shen Kitchen did a really nice job recreating this coaster, and especially the support structure for it. Not sure if it looks a lot like the original, the support structure, but I do think it definitely has the characteristics of the original. Yeah, just crazy support work everywhere. I think it looks really nice with the yellow and black here. Now, I believe this one has a few, has a few less inversions than the actual one, but I think it still looks really cool. Yeah, these supports, I already said it, but I think they look great. And I think the track layout also looks pretty nice. Now, the reason why we see this one on the lower end of the list is because besides this coaster, there's not really a lot to see in this entry. Okay, here's an entry from Fitzy Swase, who was absent from our community for several years, but it's really nice to see him make a comeback in one of my contests. And here he recreated the Windjammers, or the Windjammer Surf Racers from Knott's Berry Farm. Yeah, an infamous coaster which never really ran well, and which yeah, then was removed quite soon after. And it cost Togo a lot of money. Togo was the original manufacturer of the ride. Now, I think these vehicles mostly duel pretty well. And in the place where they don't duel really well, the brakes on the track will make up for it. So yeah, quite a few block brakes here, and they will slow down the coaster trains where they deviate from each other too much. I think it would be nicer if the pacing was done a little bit better, so these brakes wouldn't have been necessary in the first place. But overall, I think it's quite a nice rendition of the original ride. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, they never really dueled well anyway. Alright, here's the entry from 30. He created a coaster called the Comet. Yeah, I believe it's a coaster which was at a smaller park or at a fairground. Not really sure where the coaster actually could be found. But yeah, I think it's a nice little rendition of this ride with an interesting color scheme. Now we can also see this color scheme repeated here on the side. I think it's quite nice how 30 decorated the map edge here. Also some interesting ground texturing here, some plants. And yeah, I think the station is also done really nicely. I love how 30 used these circus tents here for the roof of this coaster. Alright, next up is the entry from ATN. And ATN recreated the coaster Raging Bull. It's a hyper twister coaster from B&M. And ATN decided to recreate it on one of these aircraft carriers. So it actually travels through it and over it several times. Which is some interesting interaction for the ride. I think the support work here on top of the ship is pretty nice. Not really sure about these parts where these supports are all curvy. Yeah, curvy supports probably not something you will see on most real coasters, since they don't really have a lot of strength to them. Now, I think the aircraft carrier actually looks really nice. I love to see all these planes on it as well. I do wish ATN maybe used some of those triangular pieces here in these corners, because not doing that actually makes the ship look kind of blocky here. But yeah, other than that, a really cool entry. Alright, here's the entry from Herbert. Herbert recreated Twisted Timbers, which is one of his favorite rides. Now, I think the layout actually looks quite a lot like the original, so a good job with that. And I think the support work is also really nice. I really like how he did these supports. So it's not your standard wooden support, but also some metal stuff still on it. I believe this is actually support pieces for a hybrid coaster with the track turned invisible. Kinda looks like that. But yeah, I think that that actually looks great, especially in these diagonals here. That's just a really nice way of doing it. And of course these footers throughout the track as well. Yeah, I think the layout of the coaster looks really nice. I do wish the rest of the park maybe it was a little bit more cheerful. Alright, here's the entry from SolX, and SolX recreated the new pair of single rail coasters which are being built, or which are under construction at Walibi Holland. I'm really excited to ride these myself this year. I cannot wait. Well yeah, that did make it a little bit more difficult for SolX to recreate them, since it's not really easy to access them yet. Or to look up good reference material. But yeah, this pair of single rail coasters, one of the two has inversions and the other one does not. So the green one is the one that has inversion, so it's probably a little bit more intense. But yeah, I think they duel very nicely here, and it's nice to see this ride in action here. And it's nice to get a little taste of what the layout of these rides is going to be like. Alright, next up is the entry from P2. P2 recreated Colossus from Thorpe Park. It's the 10 inversion coaster that you can find there. Now, I think the layout of the coaster is done pretty well. I think it looks quite a lot like the original. I'm not really sure about the support work. Quite a few spots it kind of looks like the track is floating above the supports. And I'm also not sure if these curvy supports are a good idea. For supports I would mostly stick to supports that actually touch the track, and maybe just triangular and straight supports. Now I do think the rest of the park looks really nice. Love this park entrance here. And it's quite clear that P2 took inspiration from some classic parks that were really well received by the community. This looks like an Evergreen Gardens park that was released by Alex Romani, and you can definitely also see some other inspirations that were taken. But yeah, I think it's always a good idea to take inspiration from some of the greater parks, because it's better than trying to guess what people like. Alright, here's the entry from B Player. And B Player recreated this Chinese coaster with a weird name, Flying Apsaras in Western region. And no idea what that means, but the layout of the ride does look pretty cool. It's of course one of these B&M dive coasters. Now it's a pretty simple layout. I think it's good to go for a simple layout, which usually means it's bit easier to recreate it in open RCT2. But yeah, I think it's really nicely situated here in this landscape. I love the contrast in colors with the rest of the park, which makes it kind of stand out. But I also love the way that the foliage was done in this park. This tropical foliage just looks super nice. I especially love the colors that were used here for this foliage. Yeah, I think it all works really well. Also these other rides here, I think they also look great in the park. Love this wooden coaster, and again it also has a nice contrast with the foliage here. Also some other really nice rides in the park, like this splash boat ride, also really nicely decorated here. Yeah, just a wonderful park from B Player. Alright, and here's the entry from Lurker. Now you can probably recognize this coaster if you're an enthusiast. This is of course the coaster Stealth from Thorpe Park. It's an accelerator coaster, and I think Lurker recreated the color scheme of the ride really nicely. Yeah, Lurker said he put Stealth on a land that was slowly crumbling away into the void. Probably a pretty grim fate for this park. But yeah, I think the coaster looks excellent here in this map. It's definitely the center point of the park. And the rest of the park, it's just supporting rides and little buildings. Kind of the style that Lurker always really likes to use. Alright, next up is the entry from Colorblind Unicorn. And Colorblind Unicorn created Kukulkan, and I believe it has the same layout as Superman Krypton Coaster, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think the layout's done really nicely. Also the support work, I think it also looks really nice. And I love how the coaster travels all around these ruins, also through these ruins. I think the ruins here are really well done. Also love this Larsen looper here. That sits in front of the statue. It just frames it so nicely. Also love these ruins here in the middle, also with this pair of drop towers. That's just done in a really nice way. Now, also the landscaping, I think it's pretty nice. So you can see lots of rock work here, lots of trees. Although I do think the foliage here, especially along the edge, is probably a little bit on the repetitive side. Yeah, overall nice work. Alright, next up is the park that you could see at the beginning of this video. This is the entry from Fitwell. And Fitwell, of course, recreated the coaster Helix, and he recreated it in its original surroundings. So it's how it looks in the park Liseberg in Sweden. Now you can also see the other coaster that's in this area, Liseberg Banan, or Liseberg Banana, as I like to call it. And there's also several other rides which you can also find here in the park. Here we have the Screamin' Swing. I also rode this at nighttime. Yeah, it just gives you such a nice view of the park. Also this newer ride here, Aerospin. It's a tower with these airplanes swinging around. And there's also this drop tower, Atmosphere, which you can find in the same building as Helix. But yeah, I think Fedwell did an incredible job recreating this coaster. I love the support work that he did for this coaster, mostly using the single rail coaster track here. Also the track texture here around this launch, just done in a really nice way. Yeah, wherever you look, just beautiful details in this entry. I think Fedwell did a wonderful job. By the way, if you think I'm going through these entries too fast, you can download all these entries from my website, and there's a link in the video description. Alright, next up is the entry from Jan the Man 227, American flag emoji, and he recreated the coaster Sky Rush. Now, pretty recognizable, I think, and I just love the way he did these trains. Yeah, you can see it's a mix of these, I believe it's floorless coaster trains, mixed with these, I believe it's single rail coaster train. But yeah, it makes this train look a bit longer than it would usually look. And yeah, I also love how he combined it also with this nose piece here, with a zero car. And I think, yeah, that just makes for a really nice looking train for this coaster. So the layout done pretty nicely. I love the different track types that were used here to try and make it look like the original Intamin track. Yeah, I think Jan the Man just did an incredible job recreating this coaster here. I think it looks absolutely great. Now also lots of other rides here in the park. We can see this wooden coaster Comet being dismantled. We can see these handymen taking care of the termites that actually caused the demise of the coaster. That's pretty funny. And there's also several other rides here. Here we can see a stadium, probably for ice hockey. That's just my guess. And there's several rides here, like this helicopter ride, a huge merry-go-round. But yeah, overall, I think it's a really nice looking park. Alright, then in fourth place we have the entry from Manticore 007. And he used these multi-dimension coaster cars to make a wing coaster. And the wing coaster is of course Phoenix. That's the wing coaster in the Dutch park Toverland, which I've ridden many times. But yeah, I think Manticore did a really nice job recreating this coaster. It just looks great here in these surroundings. And I love that he even created this airplane ride that sits in the middle. Now, of course, it's a bit difficult to actually make these arms or these vehicles and these airplanes swing around. So Manticore just kept it here at the bottom, which I think is a very creative solution for a ride like this. And normally it would swing around and then go around. And then you would be able to swing around your airplane vehicle and try to get as many rolls as possible. But yeah, a pretty creative solution. There's also this boat ride which travels all throughout the entry here. It's an interesting combination of vehicles here to try and make it look like the guests have a roof above their heads. It looks like there's river rafts and these splash boats used together. Pretty interesting solution. Also this parachute, the drop tower. Also quite like this ride. But what I mostly like about this entry is how we made this tree silhouette along the edge of the map. That's a pretty nice solution. We even have a silhouette here of this coaster. Yeah, that's really nicely done. And obviously inspired by the entries from Sui Generis in some of the previous RCCs. Really nice work. Alright, then in third place we have the entry from Beautiful Monday and the Brew, and they recreated the coaster Anaconda from Gold Reef City, which is a park in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's also it was one of the inverted coasters with the B&M track style that was actually made by a different company. It was made by Giovanola, and they also had the 2 across seating trains instead of the 4 across that B&M uses nowadays. Now the track layout of this invert is mostly the same as one of those standard Batman the Ride clones, except it's a little bit different. These 2 corkscrews are back to back, and they are flanked on both sides by a helix. But yeah, ride layout mostly the same as one of those Batman clones. Now, some other rides in the park. Here we have this really nice River Rapids ride. Here's one of these. I don't even know what these rides are called, but kind of like a bungee ride. Or let's just pause it and click Sky Coaster. That's probably what they're called. And also some really nice buildings in this entry. I just love the way they created these buildings. Kind of looks like an African style. And it's really nicely done. Now, one critique I had about this park is that some parts feel a little bit quiet. Especially this beach, for example. I think maybe it would have been nice if there were some guests walking around. But yeah, overall, I think this park just looks incredible. Alright, there's just 2 entries remaining. I will first show both of them, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Alright, here's the entry from Ball Pit Warrior and Monster Bucks, and they recreated a coaster from a Chinese park, I believe. It's a flying coaster, flying B&M coaster, and yeah, it just looks incredible. I love how they made it travel through and around this big castle here. And I also love the color scheme in this map. Yeah, the coaster has some nice... yeah, it's nice and bright compared to this castle, which is a little bit darker. But I love the orange hue that this castle has. Kind of gives the park some sunset vibes. But also the darker colors in the map kind of do that. But yeah, I think this coaster here just looks incredible. I also love the support work on this coaster. Kind of chaotic here in the center, but it always gets a bit chaotic around these pretzel loops. But yeah, it just looks, wonderful. Especially love this first drop here. Now, there's also some other beautiful rides in the park, and I just love how they did this log flume over here. I think it looks really nice also with the supporting track under it. Some weird names for the supporting track. You gotta eat the lettuce. Sure. A real nice little harbor over here. And there's also this disco coaster at the side, which also looks incredible. Love the pillars under it. Now you can actually also look inside the castle. This is probably not suitable for our younger viewers, but yeah, if you go to my website and download the park, be sure to check out this little area over here. It's pretty funny. Alright, and here's the final entry of the bunch. This entry is from Timmy Tuner, and he recreated Hakugai, which is a RMC coaster, which I believe is in Japan. Well, yeah, it actually has these white wooden supports and this blue track, and yeah, what's mostly evident about this entry is that Timmy Tuner is insane, and yeah, I mean the support work on this entry is just incredible, especially in these diagonal parts. Almost all of these sections here are track pieces. It's just incredible, especially in this section. Yeah, you can only get this angle for the track if you make diagonal track and you make it sloped up, or you do some weird shit to it. And well, yeah, I believe I read somewhere, I read Timmy somewhere saying that he spent 30 hours just on the supports of this coaster, which is insane. But yeah, it does make the coaster look incredible. I love this support work here. Also these footers under the track, they just look really nice. The rest of the park also looks incredible. Love this station. Now, of course, there's a diagonal station because it's a Timmy Tuner entry, which means you also have to do a shoestring for this ride, which makes it even more insane, in my opinion. Yeah, just a wonderful entry from Timmy Tuner. Really impressive. Alright, now it's time to reveal which one of these last two entries is the winner of this round. Is it the Hakugai recreation from Timmy Tuner? Or is it the flying coaster through a castle from Ball Pit Warrior and Monster Bucks? And the winner of our third ride recreation contest is... Timmy Tuner! Now, Timmy Tuner won by quite a big margin, and yeah, this entry is just so technically advanced that yeah, I think Timmy Tuner is the deserved winner of this round. But I also thought the entry from Ball Pit Warrior and Monster Bucks was also insanely good. And I love seeing Monster Bucks join a contest once again. It's been a while. But yeah, I loved seeing all these recreations that all the players made in this round. These recreation contests always bring out the best in players. And I love all the effort that I saw was put in by all these players. But I also want to thank all the newcomers in this round for joining this contest. And I hope to see them join in more contests in the future. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, it would really help out my channel. I would love to hear in the comments which one of these entries was your favorite. And if you want to see more videos like these, you can always subscribe to my channel. And if you want to take a look in these entries for yourself, you can find all these entries on my website, the link is in the video description. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video, I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.